Welcome to 7 Pot Club. I'm Rob.
I grow hot peppers.
Finally, we're going to open these 3 jars of Superhot peppers that have been fermenting in our basement cold closet for 6 months now. This is our very first time fermenting peppers, so I'm a little nervous. We really didn't mean to let them ferment this long, but we've had a very busy winter. So here we are on May Day, ready to open them up and see what's been happening in these jars. You know, that's kind of catchy. What's been happening in this jar? Maybe there's a song there. But before we open the jars, bottle our first fermented hot sauces, and hear a new song, we'll travel back in time to last November to see how we prepared our peppers for a winter's fermentation. Let's get started.
Here's everything we'll be using to prepare our fermentation. We're going to make 3 small batches. One with Carolina Reapers, one with a mix of 7-Pot White, 7-Pot Pink, and 7-Pot Chewongas Yellow, and one with assorted 7-Pot chocolates. We started this fermentation in November, so we used thawed peppers that had been frozen at their peak of summer freshness. Some people seem to think you can only use fresh peppers for fermentation, but frozen work just fine. We've got garlic, pint jars, and salt to make our brine. We're going to try out these easy fermenter lids that come with an oxygen extractor. First, we'll slice and add our garlic. Then we cut the peppers in half and load them into the jars. Don't you just love these colors? We made a brine with a ratio of 2 tablespoons of salt per quart of water and poured it into the jars. Here's one of our rookie mistakes. We filled the jars too full and didn't use weights to keep the peppers completely submerged in liquid. Next, we screwed down the lids and used the extractor to get all the air out of the jars. Now, the jars are ready for their long winter's nap. Down they go into our basement cold closet. Time to play you my new song, then we'll fast forward 6 months and take a look inside.
So what has been happening in these jars? Finally, time to open them and find out. We don't have room for an island in our tiny kitchen, so we're going to open them up right down here in the basement where they've been living for the past 6 months. I'm going to open up each jar, then use my camera phone to show up close what it looks like inside. There's nothing really nasty and ugly I can see from the outside. Maybe some Kahm yeast in this one. But But we're going to keep our fingers crossed that these look good and they're going to be good to bottle, and no point in stalling. Let's open up the Carolina Reapers. Let's see what we got going on. There's some Kahm yeast there, the inside of the lid, and there's something going on there, a little bit of yeast. Maybe don't know if that's mold or yeast, but looks like it's only going to be on the first layer. We're going to throw anything out that's at the top or that it looks like it has any hint of anything nasty, and clean that yeast around from the edge before we pour out the contents. But most importantly, let's smell it. Oh, that smells so delicious, spicy, fermented-y, which is a word I just made up. And I can't wait to see what that tastes like. Okay, let's go, keep going. So kind of nerve-wracking to do this for the first time. Okay, that's got a little bit of mold there on the inside of the lid. But inside the jar itself looks pretty clean. Of course, we're going to throw out that top layer. Wow, how tangy and rich, and wow. Can't wait to taste that now. The chocolate, I'm getting a little nervous about this. Let's see. Inside of the lid doesn't look too bad, but inside here, well, luckily that's nice and smooth, so that's the Kahm yeast, as I understand it. That's not mold, and hopefully it doesn't go down too deep, and we can take out what looks bad, and we'll still have a lot of good peppers. So let's get a whiff of this. Nice and rich. I think we're good here. I'm very nervous because we've never done this before, and we don't want to get sick or anything, but I think we're doing good. We're going to take these up to the kitchen now, and hopefully in a little bit we're going to end up with some bottles of hot sauce. See you upstairs.
Our 25-year-old blender went belly up the other day, so this will be the first use of our new Ninja blender. First task, get all that yucky stuff out of the jars and wipe the rims clean. We were especially careful with the chocolates because the Kahm yeast extended a little deeper into the jar. Then we dumped the peppers into a colander and drained off the brine before blending. Then we loaded up a Nutri-Ninja cup and took the Reapers for a spin. We added apple cider vinegar to thin them out to sauce consistency. And here's where I think we made an error in judgment. Being first-time fermenters, we were afraid the brine was harboring something nasty, when in fact it probably was just fine. Adding back some of the brine instead of using all vinegar probably would have improved the taste of all three sauces, reducing the acidity and adding richness to the flavor. Still, it tasted pretty good and hot.
This stuff smells deadly and delicious. That's too much on an empty stomach. Okay, here we go. Wow, that's amazing. I might add a little bit of salt and maybe a tiny bit of sugar or sweetener to this. Other than that, it's amazing. You don't know when you first take a bite how hot it is, and then it just hits you. This is like Reaper heaven.
We made the adjustments by adding some salt and also some blue agave sweetener. Then we did a final blend. We checked the pH level. 3.48 is pretty acidic. Now, time to bottle the sauce. The intense Superhots were the cause of a lot of coughing and watery eyes, and the dust masks we were wearing were not up to the task. Kat was actually wearing 3 of them, but it wasn't helping. Thankfully, I remembered we had purchased these respirator masks for just this purpose. They work much better, but fit them properly or they'll fog up your glasses. We followed the same process with the other 2 batches of peppers. We used white wine vinegar for the yellow. we used balsamic vinegar for the chocolate. Here's the finished product, bottled and labeled. Must be time for a tasting.
It feels really good to be filming for the first time outdoors this season. It's about 70 degrees outside this afternoon. Although highs will drop back down into the 50s next week, it feels like things have turned a corner and that spring is finally here. You know, it's often humbling to try your hand at something new and find out you really weren't as prepared as you should or could have been. I know that people spend years perfecting their fermentation techniques, and as newbies, we definitely have a lot to learn. Let me list some of the things I think we could have done better. Experienced fermenters, feel free to provide your constructive feedback in the comments. As I stated earlier, we should have used weights to keep the peppers submerged. We also probably filled the jars too full of peppers because we lost some liquid through the air holes as the contents expanded during fermentation. Next, we probably let them ferment too long, which used up all the sugars and gave our ferment a sharper taste than I would have preferred. In the future, I would stop the fermentation earlier and/or add some sweeter peppers to the mix. Finally, it probably would have been better to save the brine and add some or all of it back into the sauce to improve the flavor. We were just a little scared that something nasty was lurking in there. After all those disclaimers and self-recriminations, let's give the sauces a final taste. I've prepared some toast points as a good neutral base to try them with. Hey, check out these cool labels that Kat made for the sauces. Finally fermented. Okay. Finally fermented chocolate. Finely fermented yellow. And finally fermented red. Whoops. Well, maybe I'm not going to eat quite that much. Let's see. Oh well. Well, really, I like these all. They're really good. The red is definitely my favorite. The fermentation did something great to the taste of the Reapers. You got that nice fermented flavor, and then the heat just hits you. Do I look hit? I feel hit. The yellow is a little astringent to me. I suppose we could try to balance it with some more sweetener, but it's quite doable as it is, and I just think I've learned some things that I could do a better job with this the next time. The chocolate is a little mellower, but here again, could be just a tad bit sweeter, and I think not fermenting it as long or adding the brine back in either one could perhaps help that a little bit. So there you go, finely fermented sauces. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our channel and tap the bell to receive notifications as we post new episodes. We now have 7-Pot Club logo t-shirts, hoodies, sweatshirts, and more with new designs coming, so if you're interested, please head over to 7potclub.threadless.com. And for even more 7-Pot Club, follow our daily exploits on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. For 7-Pot Club, I'm Rob.